Can art heal? What if my art is how I'm a healer? I've always put this pressure on myself and my work that it would be creating change outside of me and outside of myself, that it would be healing in some way for others, that it would create an experience that would affect change for the rest of their lives, as if someone would walk into a gallery, see my work on a wall, and leave different. As I've grown and changed and evolved into who I am today, I've picked up that the greatest change I can implement in my life and in the world is the change within myself, my own transformation, my own growth, so that I can become the best version of myself and show up that way every day and change the world in that way. And providing access to healing for others, that transformation and that healing for others. So how do others access transformation? How do others access healing? And this has looked different in different seasons of my life. When I've believed different things, when I've been a part of different communities, this changes. But I've always been in this wrestling match between fulfilling my artist identity, which seems at times self-indulgent, self-focused, selfish, just the thing that I do for myself because I have to, and wanting to create change and creating an offering for the collective that helps advance humans on the journey of their becoming, on the journey of evolving as Homo sapiens. And that other focused piece, that offering to the collective, has to be altruistic. It has to be other focused. It has to create effective change in the lives of others. So, like I said, I've put my art in this box of like, oh, that's just the thing that I do for me. That's just the expression of what it's like to be human now. But that's not the thing that actually changes things. That's not the thing that actually affects the change that I need and want to see in the world and in our trajectory as Homo sapiens. This pressure has created this binary that I need these two things. I need my artwork that maybe just feeds myself some days, and then I need this other thing that helps contribute to the world. And with the pressure of capitalism, this other thing that also helps contribute to the world needs to make my money, right? It needs to help me live here. It needs to pay for my food, my mortgage, all these things, right? I have created this binary where I need my art and I need to do that. And I need to make all of this time for that. But I also need this other thing that helps make the world better, that also pays my bills. I've been leaning on this other thing, created this within this binary, within this context. I have created this thing over here, this thing that helps humans, that helps us survive this existence and this time on this planet, whatever this is also what validates my reason for being. It validates that I should exist because it's the thing that's the offering back to the collective. But I think the question that I've been asking all of my life, can art heal, is really the answer to both of these things. But I've been seeking this answer. I've been seeking this validation for existence, this reason to be in this like offering space and not in my like art space, which is hilarious because if the question is, can art heal? I already know that answer. I've already believed it. But let me tell you about how I've meandered all of these years so that maybe you can see your own meandering, or maybe you can kind of jump all of the meandering and just get to the answer that you know inside already. So the question, can art heal? It's not a life-altering question. It's not a life-shattering question. A lot of people know this. A lot of people live by this. If you ask me at any time, this is one of my soapboxes. I'm really passionate about it. Yes, art can heal. And I believe that for all of the greats. I believe that for Kandinsky. I believe that for Hilma af Klint. I believe that for all of these artists that I hold dear as guides on my journey. But I really question it in my own life. And I've actually spent thousands and thousands of dollars in trainings and in education to answer that need for that collective contribution in other ways other than my art. It's a real challenge for me to commit to that answer. I know it to be true. I know it when I walk into a gallery. I know it when I hear another artist talk. I know that art can heal, and I know that it's transformative, and I know that it answers all of the things that I want this other offering space to do, but I've been dividing it and cutting it off from that space to answer that need in my life in this other way. And maybe in this other way that I've been told that I'm good at, or that makes sense, or that is more easily digestible or understood by other people, right? So I have an anecdote for you. I have tattoos on my wrists. They say gold gold, because it's fun, kind of funny. Maybe it's just a neurodivergent joke. When people ask me about my tattoos, I like to just say that I don't have to wear jewelry now. It's implied because I have gold on my wrists. But the real meaning behind it is that when I was in a really, really low point in life and a really, really hard time where I felt I saw no way forward, I felt really trapped in my community and where I was, that I received these words that said, you have golden hands and you will make, and through your making, others will heal. And I received that, and in the time I knew that that was art. My hands will make art, and art will provide access for transformation and healing for others. Essentially, if you boil it down, art is your offering. Art is the thing you do, right? And at that time, I was in a program where the department head of photography, the program that I was in and the thing that I wanted to do, told me that I would never be an artist and that I would never get a BFA from him. And at the same time, I was in this religious community that was asking for more and more and more of me, my energy, my time, my money, finances, to spend all of my time and energy on pouring into high school kids there and evangelizing to them and also caring for them. And I couldn't give more to my art. I didn't have the energy that I needed to even think through concepts. I was borrowing on materials. I was not investing in materials. I was borrowing on concepts from others, and making copycat work that was really not good. So I actually don't blame that department head saying that at all, because I didn't have it in me at the time, because I was so shut down, because all of my energy and my time and my money was going to this organization that I thought was the moral better, or the higher ground, the more spiritually meaningful work, right? Because it was that offering, it was that over here, it was that this is going to change the world for other people, versus my art's not going to do that. And I knew that I needed to get out of that community so that I could pour all of that energy into my art and into my art practice. And so I moved across the country. After 3 years of university, I changed schools, and I just totally dove into and made my whole world arts community. So I believed it. When I moved across country, uprooted my life. I believed that art could heal. I believed that voice that I heard inside me. I believed that I had golden hands and that I would make things that would change folks' lives, or change at least my life. I was in it. And then for 2 years, I was in this beautiful little community, this incubator where materials were there, the studio was there, the galleries were there, the relationships were there, the community was there. I was living, breathing art all the time. I was in constant communication and conversation with other artists, and we were doing the art thing. But when I graduated, I was so afraid of putting that financial pressure to support myself on my art that I freaked out and went to graduate school, not for art. So I wanted to get back west. I moved across the country again with all of my art supplies. And I was like, I can do this graduate program and maintain my art practice. No, I couldn't. 3 years later, from an institution that I no longer agree with and would not go to now, I have gained a lot of different voices, a lot of conditioning, a lot of things to heal from. And I'm trying to reorient back to my art practice in a city where I have not been an artist and don't have a lot of connections to arts community. But I had just gotten a degree in spiritual direction. And so I sat with folks one-on-one for 8 years in the spiritual direction space and came to specialize in religious trauma and spiritual abuse. that became the avenue of healing. So I spent $42,000, I'm still spending $42,000 on a graduate degree to help folks heal, when I had heard a voice that was my art that would help, my golden hands, and believed that it was my art that would help folks heal. So not only that one, I've done others too. I have pursued certificates in Reiki healing, in trauma-informed spiritual care, in all of these different spaces to make my healing space better, to make it a greater offering to others. And I've spent thousands more dollars. I've spent hundreds of hours trying to make that healing space something that people can readily understand and will readily put money at, because I have this binary of, this is my work that I do for myself, which all of this is built off of conditioning, right? All of my beliefs around my art practice and what my art can do, all built on conditioning. And then I have this other thing that I have to do to help the world become a better place. Ugh. When all along, back in 2008, I received this word, felt like I received this word, that my art is where healing comes from. So all of that, through my graduate degree, through studying spiritual journey models and creating my own spiritual journey model through my graduate program that's based in the creative practice, the art process, I have come to believe that there is this greater creative process that is happening every moment, at the same time through our lives, at the same time that we do these kind of micro creative processes in our creative practice and the works that we're making. So we are becoming ourselves every day. Sartre said that we don't come with inherent purpose to this earth. We are not born with a purpose that we need to fulfill, but that we, through our actions, through our choices, through our decisions every single day, we create our meaning, we create our purpose, our raison d'être. Our reason to be is made through these moment by moment decisions and curations of what we like, what we want our life to be. And through all of these years of studying and research and experimenting on my own life, I've come to find that my purpose is creating a fulfilling life for myself, while also contributing to the collective and offering of where I hope humans can go as we evolve and change and become. So we're becoming ourselves at the same time that we're becoming what we will be as a species also. Our creative practice is where we get to experiment in all of these little ways and test and try things like self-trust, like doubt, like where we learn about our beliefs and how we see the world. And then we can take those things from the studio and bring them into our broader lives. If I believe this, the creative process is healing. We're able to get out our emotions, we're able to get out our thoughts about things. Maybe even some processes have a tendency towards like alternating tapping or like, something tactile that helps rewire our brain and starts rewiring all that conditioning that we've received all of our lives. We get to work out what we're doing here and what we're doing about it. And that is intrinsically healing, let alone the whole thing of the magic of standing in front of a piece of work in a gallery, in a museum, in public art, outside, wherever. I mean, nature, the original artist, amazing. But when we stand in front of a work and we are changed, we leave different. We have new thoughts that we've never had before. We think through things in different ways. We see a color that we've never experienced, and we have a feeling that is attached to that comes up. Art, I do deep down, I believe that art is healing and can heal. I believe this for, like I said in the beginning, I believe this for the greats, but how do I believe this for myself? How do I believe this for my own work? How do I allow this to be a motivation for why I get in the studio every single day? So I've been researching Hilma af Klint, Kandinsky, Paul Klee, Georgia O'Keeffe, Rothko, Georgiana Huffington, Agnes Pelton, especially transcendental painters and abstract expressionist painters. And I know for them, I know when I experience art, their art. I know when I saw Kandinsky in the Guggenheim when I was in high school or college, I don't know. I know these things are inherently healing and that they change us when we walk away from them. But how do I believe that for myself? So 2 things I can give to you today. I have been practicing leaning on the greats. So researching the absolute heck out of these artists that I admire, these things that move me. If I find a piece that moves me, I go look up the artist. I see if they have writings that they've written themselves that I can experience. I see if other people have written books about them that I can experience. And I don't make myself read cover to cover. I just eat everything that I can. I watch as many YouTubes as I can on these people and just glean. I just harvest and glean what I can from these people. How did they think, and how especially they looked at their work, and how especially they looked at their work as a spiritual practice, what they believed, and how I can see that coming through their work. And I don't look at evangelical works like any sort of spiritual bent, things that are trying to be didactic or teach me about that belief system. I look at artists that are expressing their own experience through their work, the things that they have found, the Easter eggs, the candy the treasure that they've found through their practice, and they've just had to show people. They've just had to get it down on paper for future generations or whatever. That's the thread that I'm following. So I lean on the greats. I also practice meditation and other forms of rewiring my brain to believe these things, right? So if I don't believe for myself in practice, I'm not showing myself that I believe that art is healing, because I would actually be committing to it and getting in the studio, my art is healing, then I am believing something else in my mind. I have a functional belief that says art is not healing. It is not worth it. I can't get in the studio. My work, maybe it sounds a little bit different. My work is not worth it. My work is selfish. My work is self-focused. My work doesn't help the collective. My work doesn't get anybody, there to change. My art doesn't do enough. Anything like that. It could sound different, but there's something like that. I do things like meditation in order to change that narrative. So I use meditation to get the nervous system resiliency in order to start trying on these different beliefs so that I'm not so reactive all the time and just shooting from the hip in these beliefs that I have been, these tracks, these ruts that my brain has been in for so long, that I can actually be really soft and notice something and change it. So the meditation helps me get safe enough to play with these things. And then noticing also. So then maybe that's 3 things. So noticing. I'm noticing how I'm talking to myself. I'm noticing what I'm saying to myself to keep me out of the studio. I'm noticing what I'm believing about myself to keep myself out of the studio. Another practice of noticing is I do morning pages. So every morning, dumping down 3 pages of thoughts. It's a really good way for me to notice what I'm thinking about my life, myself, my work, anything that's happening. Because those nasty things, if they're going to come up, they're coming up in morning pages, as long as I'm being honest, right? Honesty is such a foundation for my work and myself and healing and transformation. So through this practice of noticing and then meditation and meditating on maybe these newer thoughts that I want to believe, or these things that I do believe, but not quite yet in practice, then I can start rewriting these scripts and this conditioning in my mind so that I have these new beliefs, right? I also make myself get in action towards the belief. So if I'm avoiding the studio, what do I need to do to get into the studio? If I'm avoiding a certain project, what sort of materials do I need to buy or collect in order to start pursuing that project? What do I need to write out to get there? What do I need to bounce off of a friend or have a conversation around, and ask people to help me get in action around these things? So I am done. I'm done pouring thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into modalities that I think will be more palatable or more marketable, which spiritual direction, Reiki healing, I don't know what I'm thinking, are more acceptable by certain people's standards, or that make sense or easy to explain or anything like that. I think I'm just going to try my art on for a while. I'm going to follow that voice that told me years and years ago in 2008, 2009, that I have golden hands. I'm going to rest in that. Allow that to be true for me. Y'all can think whatever you want about that. That doesn't impact me. But I'm going to trust that voice that says I have golden hands that I'm made to make, and that my making can create access to healing for myself and for others. I don't want to keep ignoring my art. I don't want to keep not buying the supplies because I need to invest in this training or this other program. I am choosing my art right now. I need to create the art that will create the portal to something that I don't even know. I can't even imagine, but I need to do that. So maybe you're like me. Maybe you could make things that would meet some of your life goal in a different way, but it's not fulfilling. Maybe you're like me and you've been told that you're really good at these things, and so you've dived headfirst into them and you're doing really well at them, but you're not feeling fulfilled. Maybe you're like me and you've believed some lies from culture that you have to do things this certain way or in this polarity. Maybe you've been told that making is selfish or indulgent or self-focused, or that art for art's sake is pointless. Maybe even you've believed some lies that you have to do your offering to the collective in a different way than what you want. And maybe you've stood in front of a work of art and you've been changed too. Maybe you've heard a song that's changed your life forever. Maybe you've read a poem that has changed your outlook on existence. Keep making, my friends. We're doing something that we may not be able to understand right now on this plane at all. We may not have words for, we may not have understanding for, we may not be able to even touch in our understanding of how our work and us doing the creative work affects anything.